Om. We're going to take up this morning continuation of the very significant and important aspect of second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita with the beginning verses that Sri Krishna spoke. Because actually the second chapter delineates for us what we're supposed to perceive, and also a hint is given as to how to acquire the final and ultimate goal of the purpose of life. So really, when Sri Krishna begins to speak, he lays out the three cardinal principles of life itself. Of course, first is that the Atman is imperishable. Second is the body, which is the vehicle that the Atman dwells within, is transient and therefore insignificant. And then finally, that in this situation, what is of supreme importance is that our swadharma, our duty in life, must be fulfilled. So what is our duty in life? For Sri Krishna says, we must free ourselves from attachment of the body, but we must see ourselves as impermanent in Him, and therefore embracing Him to accomplish that fullness. This is why the Bhagavad Gita is actually called the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. The purpose is this, that when we hear the song of God, when we actually attune ourselves so we can perceive this divine revelation, we will literally become Shri herself. And the Shri in the highest sense, which is of Ashta Lakshmi, would be Moksha Lakshmi, that divine goddess who bestows all wealth of the highest nature. So the Srimad Bhagavad Gita means that being devoted to the Lord, being freed from the attachment of the body, letting go of the past, for it is outside of our domain, letting go of the future, for it is out of our grasp, but controlling the present. And controlling the present and using the body mainly for service and devotion. For in the next chapter, Sri Krishna will go into karma yoga, go into the actual service that we must engage in. He gives a hint here also as to the type of service, for it is none other than devotion to God, devotion to Him, and let Him be the one who, in a sense, holds the reins of our life. This is very significant because the depiction that we see in the Bhagavad Gita, where Sri Krishna is the chariot driver and Arjuna gives even the direction of battle of life over to the Lord, it is being drawn by 5 horses. And Sri Krishna is holding the reins of these 5 horses. Of course, this is very symbolic and esoteric, but also significant in the fact that Sri Krishna holds the reins of the 5 senses. Because here he has just told us, even through heat, through cold, through happiness, through sorrow, we must learn to endure it. For in the succeeding verses of chapter 2, Sri Krishna literally says, you must endure these things. The only way to properly endure the tumultuous ocean of samsara that we find ourselves in is to have the Lord driving our chariot, the chariot of our life. So literally we find the key to life here is not only service, but the highest form of service, which is literally devotion to God, and trust that all that will come and go is decreed by the Lord. All that will happen to us is, yes, preordained, but what is not preordained, what is not part of karma, is our reaction to these things. Therefore, the Lord is saying to us, we must endure. And being human, and being beings of supreme sensitivity, and beings of the heart, it is very, very difficult and virtually impossible to endure alone. Therefore, the Lord is saying, to endure these things, to fulfill the purpose of life, we must have Him, that divine being, controlling our life. Of course, meditation is, again, very pivotal in this, because it is through meditation that we gather the perception to literally see the path that the Lord is laying before us and to hear the Lord's instruction. For yes, as the Lord plays a divine flute, that is symbolic of the idea that the sound that comes, the music that comes from the Lord, should not just be pleasing to us, but should be perceived as a direction. This is why the Bhagavad Gita is called the Song of God. It is not just a poem, which is beautiful to behold and lovely to contemplate. It is direction and guidance. So in this beginning teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is literally saying, endure life, endure the frailty of the body, and in doing so, bring yourself under the control of my benevolent and divine auspicious direction. So one thing that we can understand is when we read actually what is being said in the beginning chapters, the beginning verses of chapter 2, we find this: feelings of heat and cold, pleasure and pain are caused by the contact of the senses with their objects. This we cannot control. They come and they go, never lasting long. We must come to accept them. A serene spirit, a calm and accepting spirit, perceives pleasure and pain with an even mind. We are unmoved by either. The Lord alone is worthy to direct us through these divine changes in life, and those who follow Him, He alone is worthy of immortality. That which is non-existent can never come into being, and that which is can never cease to be. Those who have known the inmost reality know also the nature of His divine power. So the purpose of life is to carry on an inward dimension and an outward dimension, and through true yoga, which means joining the two, joining our life with our inner contemplation through meditation, devotion, prayer, and all the spiritual practices that are laid before us by all the saints. Yes, and even come to tears before the Lord. These things are that which will bring us to the goal of our divine inheritance. Hari Om.